Hey friends, what's up? Welcome or welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I realized that I don't think I did a video talking about things that you can do during the springtime, so I'm doing it now. I know it's a little bit late. We have like just a month until it's summertime. Better late than never, and these are just a handful of things that you can do during the springtime that are kind of centered around slow living. So these are slow living kind of practices, but they are among the spring theme. I hope that makes sense. But I did also want to mention that I did a blog post that has some different ideas in there, and I always have like seasonal bucket lists that I have in Notion that are just like free templates you can literally copy and paste. So I'll link all of those resources down in the description box. But yeah, let's get into today's video. All right, I got my trusty Google Keep out here. So the first thing that I have is to pick up a low maintenance hobby. So for example, I have things listed here such as games. That could be board games, video games, whatever kind of games are your vibe. I also have reading and I have painting. So the focus here is low maintenance. You don't want to pick up something that is too intense, something that's going to overwhelm you, or you need to buy a bunch of supplies or invest in a lot in order to participate in said hobby. I think during the springtime is a nice time to experiment with things that you probably will like, but you're not too sure yet. And so now's the time to just like do something pretty low key, pretty chill, something that you can kind of like lay on the couch and do. I think those ideas are really good. And these are personal low maintenance hobbies that I really love to do. So I highly recommend. They bring me so much joy. It's so fun. They're also very cozy oriented. So if you're into the whole cozy gaming type of thing or cozy aesthetic in general, these hobbies are definitely going to be your vibe as well. Okay, the next thing is to get outside. I feel like this is a given. Springtime, it's finally a little bit warm outside. We've been cooped up for months at a time for like the cold weather. So it's perfect timing to get out there and enjoy nature. So I have things such as hikes. I'm personally a big fan of hikes. There are a lot of hikes in my area that I can easily access. But if you're not sure, you can use the app called All Trails. That's what I have on my phone. You can put in your zip code and you can see whatever is nearby. Maybe within driving distance, you can do a little bit of a road trip one day. But there's also information on the level of difficulty when it comes to hikes in there. So that might help for, you know, hiking beginners. I also have things like going to the park. I feel like most people have access to a park, so highly recommend doing that if you just need to get a breath of fresh air. Walks around the neighborhood. That's something that's also super accessible, I feel like. So if you don't have access to hiking or parks, you can at least take a walk around the neighborhood. Maybe see some neighbors, see some cute puppies and stuff like that that you haven't seen all winter long, and, you know, connect, socialize with people that you haven't seen in a while. Or getting even more accessible, just sitting on your front steps or sitting in your backyard. If you don't have a backyard, you can sit on your front steps, sit on your fire escape if you are my fellow New Yorkers out there. Just get some fresh air. I feel like fresh air is something that we kind of overlook. All right, in the same realm and also very spring-centric is to garden. If you have access to some sort of garden, you don't actually need to have access to a big space in order to do a garden. When I lived in New York City, I did a lot of indoor gardening in my little apartment on like the 3rd floor. So it is definitely possible to do. You can use like planters, little pots, you can get like indoor gardening systems, or if you do have access to a yard, you can do it outside as well. I have done all of the above, so I can tell you that it's definitely possible, and it's also a lot of fun to grow something from scratch on your own. It's very satisfying, and if you are like a super beginner, you're not good at gardening, I highly recommend starting with basil. 1, basil is absolutely delicious. 2, basil smells so good. And 3, basil's very easy to grow on your own. Like, coming from somebody who did not know a thing about gardening, basil was there for me and it always thrived, which definitely gave me like a confidence boost. Okay, the next thing is to have a picnic. Again, another outdoorsy kind of thing, and I feel like picnics are very springy, especially now that like farmers markets are opening up. We're going to the park more often. We want to see our friends. We've been cooped up, like I've been saying. But yeah, having a picnic is super fun. I definitely want to do this. There's a park near to my house. It's huge, and every time we drive by, whenever there's like really nice weather, I see a lot of people having picnics, and I'm like, I need to do that. So I'm recommending you do that. I'm recommending this to myself. I think we should all have picnics, maybe make it a little event. If you don't have access to a park, again, maybe try doing this in your backyard. If you're living in New York City, you don't have access to much outdoor space. I do know there are some waterfronts where you can kind of like have a picnic. Even though it's like concrete, you can still have a picnic around there. Try to get creative, but it's definitely possible as long as you have an open mind. Okay, and the last thing is to have a slow self-care day. I talked about this in last week's video where I'm trying to embrace more like relaxation time, more lazy days, which are not necessarily lazy days, I talk about it in the video, but just have a full day to yourself where you do not spend any time on any sort of like responsibilities, deadlines, work expectations, etc. Do things for yourself, and that's definitely going to make you think creatively as well, make you kind of force yourself into having an open mind, because once we strip away all of those responsibilities, all of those expectations that we feel like we need to do as human beings, we start to really think deep about what we want to do and what we find fun. So this is going to be a challenge, but a really, really fun and exciting challenge. I'm glad that I ended off the list in this way because I don't know, I get really, really excited about the thought of doing that. I actually have a day off tomorrow, which is actually today, the day that you're watching this video. So I'm also going to have to get a little bit creative on what I plan on doing that day, this day, today. So I am right there with you, and feel free to let me know what you end up doing on one of your days off or one of your like full self-care days. Let me know in the comments, or if you prefer DMing me, you can totally do that on Instagram and stuff like that. But that is all for this list. Like I said, it's very short. It's only like a handful of things, but we only have a month left until it's actually summer, and I do want to get a summer video out for you. So I kept this one small, and yet again, I have other ideas in a blog post and a spring bucket list that has a ton of ideas in there. I'll put both of those links in the description box, but thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the love on last week's video. I'm so glad you're enjoying those slow living habit type videos. I'll definitely do more of them, but I will talk to you in next week's video.